economics is the study of how real people think and act. And in that respect, it's rather different from the textbook way in which economic agents are supposed to behave and act. So that in textbooks, economic agents are supposed to be rational, self-interested decision makers, whereas we know that in real life people have many things other than their own self-interest that affect them. They're affected by concerns for others, their concerns for emotions, and all sorts of things. The way in which the theory of evolution and anthropology can help understand economics is best understood by looking at what we learn from behavioral economics. Most behavioral economics has tried to understand human beings as though we were rather inefficient computers. It compares us to computers and it says we're not very good at doing what computers do. The great thing about the theory of evolution is that it emphasizes that we have descended from apes, we are apes, and we're actually rather smart apes. And so a lot of the ways in which we behave, the ways in which we think and decide and feel, can be understood because we're apes that live in groups, that we're very concerned about status, that we interact strategically with each other. And we do all of these things really rather well, rather intelligently. But we're still apes and we are still influenced by the way in which we live in these groups. And so understanding us as rather clever apes, instead of understanding us as rather stupid computers, seems to me to bring a lot of insight into the study of economics. There are many things we can do in a society where we interact with strangers that we couldn't possibly do if we had to rely on people that we were very close to. After all, you can get medicines prepared by strangers in laboratories on the other side of the world that cure you of diseases that otherwise would kill you. It also means, though, that we are much more vulnerable to things that happen on the other side of the world. Things that happen on the outside of the world are often good for us. As I say, they bring us medicines, or they can bring us food or other necessaries of life, but at the same time, changes in what's happening on the other side of the world can affect us without us ever seeing them coming. The reason why we can learn a lot from anthropology is that we can understand the conditions under which our species evolved and see how we coped with those challenges in the past. Now, the past isn't exactly like the future, and so the way we're going to have to cope with those challenges in the future can't just copy from the past, but learning from how we managed those challenges in the past can at least give us insights into the sorts of things we're good at and the sorts of things we're bad at. You asked me to define the Italian economy in 3 words. The 3 words I'm going to use are complex. That's the first word. And the reason I describe the Italian economy as complex is because it's very hard for outsiders to know how to do things. It's very hard for outsiders to see what you have to do to set up a business in Italy, what you have to do to pay your taxes properly, how you understand what the true costs of setting up in Italy would be. The second word I would use to describe the Italian economy is status-driven. By that I mean that many of the rewards in Italian society are status rewards and not narrowly financial rewards. So, for example, the Italian university sector has very high status for the people who hold senior positions, and Italian society reflects that high status. I remember reading somewhere that Italy is the country that has the most university professors amongst its politicians in its political classes, and it's clear that intellectual status in Italy is very highly prized, and that status is not narrowly associated with money, income or wealth. So I certainly would describe Italian society compared to, say, American society as having a much more complex set of dimensions of status than simply the financial or narrowly professional success. The third word that I would use to describe Italian society is passionate. And let me tell you a little anecdote. I was at the Festival Economics in Trento about 3 years ago, and after I had spoken on Saturday late afternoon in my own session, I walked out into the Piazza del Duomo, and I saw an enormous crowd sitting before a large screen. And there must have been 2,000 people in front of the screen, and I thought to myself, what are they watching? It must be a football game. I could not imagine, either in the country I come from, in the UK or in France, that you would ever be able to get 2,000 people to sit in front of the screen to watch anything other than the football game. But as I went forward, I saw that it was actually an intellectual discussion about the future of Italian democracy. And I thought to myself, this is a remarkable sight. And I feel very optimistic about Italy when I see that, because in spite of the other things that I talked about, the status-conscious nature of Italian society, the opacity and complexity of Italian society, I think that you are a society that takes ideas very seriously, that you care passionately about ideas, and I think that a society that cares passionately about ideas has a future, whatever its current difficulties.